But when you really commit to something and repeat it over and over, like this bass fill, it almost becomes a very integral part of the song. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Low End University. Motorcycle Drive-By is from Third Eye Blind's self-titled debut album released in 1997, and this song comes by request from one of our earliest patrons to sign up over at patreon.com/lowenduniversity. It's been on my list longer than I wanted, but I'm finally happy to get to this band because Third Eye Blind is a band I've never really paid much attention to, but you couldn't ignore those staple singles on the radio, Never Let You Go, Semi-Charmed Life, and a few others, and I always thought they were really catchy, but just never sought the band out further. This album was what's called a sleeper hit, I'm reading, entering the Billboard charts at 135 when it came out, not doing much of anything, and then skyrocketing to the top 25 nearly a year after its release. And this famously happened to Guns N' Roses with Appetite for Destruction. It kind of reminds me of that story. But without further ado, I'm glad to get back to this band with Motorcycle Drive-By from Third Eye Blind. Here we go.
Summertime and the wind is blowing outside in lower Chelsea, and I don't know what I'm doing in this city. The sun is always in my eyes. It crashes through the windows and I'm sleeping on the couch. When I came to visit you, that's when I knew that I could never have you. I knew that before you did. Still I'm the one.
Wow. I don't know if this is all going to be a ballad, but I'm not used to that sound when I think of Third Eye Blind. I think of them with this. I remember learning that song a long time ago, and they have that just upbeat, major key rock sound. So I haven't heard anything like this from the band, but just in these first 40 seconds, there is so much beautiful small note groupings that are just passing by each other and creating this really pretty dissonance, like lots of major sevens, suspensions. The bass is kind of coming in and inverting the chords, and it's all just kind of coalescing and happening for just these brief eighth notes when things kind of collide and pass by. It kind of start out with the C thing and then transition to this kind of major seven thing. Back to C, but then the bass came in on the G, which gives it that kind of second version sound, but it just creates a big, lush soundscape of dissonance that's not tense. It's pretty. What a beautiful setup so far. I'm gonna have to switch to something smoother, bass tone wise, because this has some grit. Let's try something like this. Sounds more up in the ballpark. Okay. Go back to here and see where this goes. Beautiful voice, all of it.
I knew that before you.
More vulnerable vocal performance.
I'm the one who's stupid. And there's this burning, like there's always been. I've never been so alone.
Listen to that bass fill. Like it was just so gentle and elegant. Going down a whole scale, it sounded like, just to be a transition into a new chord. And you might think that's really busy, but it's all about dynamics to pull that stuff off and it not sound like too much. But it's kind of on brand with what they've set up so far. So many little note groupings going by. It's just kind of like oscillating and really setting up a really nuanced mood. I'm kind of just solemn. Listen to this bass part.
Like there's like there's always been.
Yeah, it's right down the C major scale. Just lyrical. Okay, let's let this go a bit.
I've never been so alone, and I've never been so alive.
Nice major seven there. Okay, getting a groove going, okay.
Visions of you on a motorcycle drive by. The cigarette ash flies in your eyes and you don't mind. You smile and say the world it doesn't fit with you. I don't believe you. You're so serene, careening through the
that same thing.
universe.
That was placed on a different count, was it not?
You smile and say the world it doesn't fit with you. I don't believe you. You're so serene, careening through the.
Comes in on the 3, comes in the middle of a bar and carries over to the next one. Maybe now that there's like kind of a groove being developed, I was not hearing that the first time, but imaginative placement for something like that. You know, you got to fit it all in to make it land on that next chord. Okay.
Universe, your axis on until you're guiltless and free.
Lots of layers coming in.
And there's things I would like to do that you don't believe in. I would like to build something, but you never see it happen. And there's this burning like there's always been. I've never been so alone, and I've never been so alive.
Yes. Okay, now we're in halfway through the song. It was a really exaggerated setup, which makes that impact. You know, most songs like this, that kind of impact comes in a lot sooner. And it almost just holds it out until you can't wait any longer. And then it hits and it makes it that much more impactful, kind of giving you this 2-minute setup. And all these little note oscillations and, you know, layers coming in, little plinky kind of guitar things and, you know, everything I just mentioned. And now when it kicks in with the full groove and the guitars, it cleans up compositionally, because right here, it's just kind of rock and power chords. There's a little bit of layering going on, but I like the way it cleans up. It just kind of comes into view. And I could go back and harp over all these little nuances on the bass parts, but I like that the bass kind of foreshadowed it wasn't going to be that same vibe the whole time. You know, he would do little things, kind of like being lyrical to start out. That kind of thing. And then it went into this maybe 8 bars where it added a little bit of syncopation. Hear a lot of that little muted note, ghost note action coming in, which kind of signifies it's about to start driving. And I knew it was about to when all he did was go to straight 8th notes. He abandoned all this lyrical stuff going on, which was so beautiful. And I heard that. That's when the guitar faded in right here. I just want to play that again because it's just beautiful songwriting.
Like there's always been. I've never been so alone.
Starts driving it.
And I've never been so alive.
Foreshadowing in the bass part. How cool. I love when I hear stuff like that. I didn't expect that.
That's all I wanna know. New York City's evil. The surface is everything, but I could never do that. Someone would see through that. And this is the last time we'll be friends again. And I'll get over you. You wonder who I am. And there's this
This is the last time we'll be friends again. I usually don't listen to the lyrics, but the gorgeousness of that intro just said, okay, what is going to be sung about here over something like this? Because I just got done reading this album is themed around loss with a lot of heavy subjects in that wheelhouse. So I'm kind of listening for that a bit. It's the last time we'll be friends again. I'll get over you, something, relationship wise, which is what I read. Motorcycle Drive-By, I haven't heard that mentioned. I've been caught up on the music, but start about here. That's the fourth time that's happened. Just that C major walk down, but he did it an octave lower and kind of repurposed that fill in this, the beat drop. We're into the song now, the intense part. And I love that how that was brought back and kind of reprised on a lower octave to be more appropriate for where the song is now. And sometimes bass players will do things like that, just those little one-off things, and you're like, oh, okay, how cool. And then that same part repeats and it's a little different. And both methods are good. I find myself talking about this a lot in videos. When you repeat something a lot, it has the risk of sometimes being tuned out by the listener. Whereas if you do something different, irregular every time, the bass tends to kind of poke out more. But when you really commit to something and repeat it over and over, like this bass fill, it almost becomes a very integral part of the song. Brought it down here. I got to hear it again because it was just so smooth I wasn't expecting it. Just sexy. What can you say? Back here.
I go home to the coast, it starts to rain. I paddle out on the water alone. Taste the salt and taste the pain. I'm not thinking of you again. Summer dies and swells rise. The sun goes down in my eyes. See this rolling wave darkly coming to take me home. And I've never been so alone.
Kind of a fake out ending there.
And I've never been so alive.
Never been so alive. I would have never thought Third Eye Blind had something like that up their sleeves. And again, that's on me. I never really sought them out. Just kind of relied on knowing them from the radio singles, which again, were very catchy. And the riffing, and there was a uniqueness to it. It was just good pop rock kind of thing. But this was a whole different side of the band. Thank you for this request again. I loved how binary it is. You had this acoustic mode, if you will, almost like a kaleidoscope of sounds. And then I use that term, the composition just cleaned up when it got heavier. It just all got out of the way and just was more of a one-way street, boom, wall of sound. Then it ended the way it started with that kind of lushness. So I love the contrast. I love the binary songwriting there. But the bass seemed to glue it all together, and it was the cherry on top to hear that bass fill brought back in a place that I didn't expect it to be. A lot of lyrical stuff. I mean, I could sit there for hours under the microscope in that whole intro section. Just lyrical, kind of ad-libbed, almost just kind of trying to catch up with the vocals where they are melodically. Just great musicianship. Never heard a ballad like that type of song from this band. Come to think of it, I haven't done a ballad type of song on the channel, if ever. Maybe a couple softer ones, but it's a different approach on bass. You have this room to completely intertwine with the vocals with an opportunity you might not have when the big heavy chorus comes in. And there's some just beautiful bass playing out there that takes this approach. And so this was awesome. Motorcycle Drive-By by Third Eye Blind. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. If you'd like to support the channel further, I do full album reactions over on Patreon. We vote on them each month, and they've been such a blast for me to sit down and do this for an hour and a half. But if you enjoy this here on YouTube, please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. I love you all. Thanks for hanging, and we will see you next time.